Your CV is the single most important document when searching for a new job. It doesn't matter how long it has taken to write. The person reading it will take about 5 seconds to form an opinion. As well as grabbing the attention of your potential employer, your CV has to impress them too. You have to show that you have the necessary skills and competencies to do the job. It's a lot to ask, but all it takes are a few simple rules to make sure that you produce a well-presented, accurate and concise CV that will give you every opportunity to secure an interview. The first rule is to write the CV yourself. It needs to represent you and the language you use. You will be expected to discuss your CV at an interview, and a recruiter will definitely know when a CV is not your own. The best way to lay out a CV is to start with your name and contact details. Your date of birth is not necessary, neither are your nationality or marital status. The big question now is, what comes next? This is the critical part of the CV. Some people think a personal profile is the best way to make that all-important positive impression. Sometimes it is, but 9 times out of 10, personal profiles have the opposite effect, and so we think these are best avoided altogether. The most dynamic part of your CV is a section that charts your key achievements. Put it first and back up your achievements with compelling facts. Don't just tell the reader you wrote and implemented an absence policy. Tell them you reduced sickness absence levels from 11% to 2.5% over a 1-year period. Once you've captured your reader's interest, they'll be wanting to know where you've worked. So your employment history comes next. Include job title and dates, and put the most recent first. Also include a description of your duties and your responsibilities. Include precise details. These will make your skills tangible. Then come your education and qualifications. Again, most recent first. Start with your most relevant professional qualification for the job. Then give the full title of your degree and a summary of subjects and grades. These are followed by relevant training, which comes in a separate section. The interests and hobbies section should not be underestimated. Keep away from boring clichés. And show hobbies that can demonstrate a range of skills relevant to the job or transferable to a workplace setting. And if possible, pick hobbies that are a little out of the ordinary so you can stand out from the crowd. The final section of CV refers to your referees, and this leads us onto our second rule. Keep it brief. A good CV shouldn't be any longer than 2 to 3 pages. It should be informative but concise. Cut out any fancy and complicated sentences. A good CV will highlight all your skills that are relevant to the job. Dispense with those that are irrelevant, and don't over-describe those that are left. Something else that shouldn't be mentioned at this stage is your current salary. We don't need to mention referees yet either. Your CV needs to be truthful and accurate. For example, declare breaks in service. If a break was due to redundancy, state this clearly. There's nothing wrong with giving yourself credit where credit is due, but never exaggerate. Rule 4. We need to think about the language we use. Keep your CV in the third person where possible, as this helps to avoid beginning sentences repeatedly with I. Be aware of using the relevant tense throughout, and always try to use positive words that describe your skills confidently. The Recruitment and Employment Confederation says that about half of all CVs received by recruitment consultants contain spelling or grammatical errors. Spell checking is one way to look for errors, but there are many words that slip through the net. The best type of spell checking is to get a friend or a colleague to read it through. And finally, we need to pay attention to the presentation. Your CV should be easy to read and not cramped. To achieve this, the chosen font should be uniform throughout, although headings can be emphasised with size changes, bold lettering, underlining and italics. Fonts such as Times New Roman or Arial with point 12 give a CV a professional air. For a more interesting font, consider Georgia, or a more classy choice might be Geneva or Verdana. Bullet point styles should not be mixed, and indenting should be consistent throughout. Like the Forth Bridge, a CV is never finished. It should always be kept up to date and, of course, tailored to every individual opportunity that you apply for. By following these 5 simple rules of writing the CV yourself, keeping it brief, being truthful and accurate, getting the language right and applying the finishing touches, you will give yourself every opportunity to progress to the interview stage. And when you get to the interview stage, we can help you with that too.